You're listening to The Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
Roadway blockages. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage all throughout the day. It's absolutely free. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
The Gary Harris Show. You see him host Tider Insider TV, Crimson Tide Kickoff, play-by-play for Alabama sports, and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Gary Harris Show for this Thursday, September 12, 2024. I'm your host, Gary Harris. Chase Brumfeld's right there on the other side of the glass. He is manning the controls and taking your phone calls on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline at 205-342-9904. Had a great show yesterday with our phone callers, and can't wait to interact with some of you again this morning, although we do have a jam-packed show in terms of our interviews as well. I'm going to run all that down for you here in just a moment, but first I need to tell you, as always, this hour of the Gary Harris Show brought to you by my good friends at Alabama Credit Union, and I mean that 110%. Whether it's Steve Swaffer, the CEO, right on through the entire organization, they are a special financial institution, empowering our members, enriching our community. Discover the heart and soul of our member-owned credit union. Not-for-profit means that they're taking their money and returning them to you, the member, in the form of lower interest rates on loans and higher dividends. That's something we can all get excited about. I encourage you to find out more at alabamacu.com. That's alabamacu.com, or stop by and see them at one of their many locations around the great state of Alabama and the Panhandle of Florida. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Some rules and restrictions do apply. See if you're eligible for membership. Then join today and feel good about your money and put a little extra change in your pocket. All right, it's our Thursday lineup as we're settling into the football season, and pretty much on Thursday, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get Ellis Johnson, the coach, breaking down SEC football at 9:30, one of our most popular segments. D. Orlando Ledbetter, esteemed beat writer for the Atlanta Falcons for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution and the AJC.com at 10 o'clock. Can't wait to visit with Orlando. He was excited last week about the Falcons' possibilities. I was too, but then this is an example of why the Atlanta Falcons are the Atlanta Falcons. They went out on opening day at home with their new multi-$100-million quarterback and laid an egg against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So they're 0-1. And at 10:30, it's my pal Jeff Spiegel, Spiegs, ABC 3340 Sports Anchor, host of The Zone. He'll jump on with us at 10:30. As I said, your phone calls are welcome. We've also got some audio available from yesterday after the practice session at Alabama. With Maurice Linguist, the secondary coach from Alabama. He was one of the coaches that was interviewed, and we've got some audio there that we'll get to if we can. You know how it goes with that audio. We oftentimes I'll say we'll try to get to it, then we just get busy. And we get a lot of calls, and we have the interviews and so forth, so we don't get to it. But if we get an opportunity, because Maurice Linguist had some great things to say about that young secondary and how they're trying to bring them along. As I said, your phone calls are welcome on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline at 205-342-9904 if you want to give us a call. Not going to do headlines because we just have so many topics these days in football season, so I'm not going to spend a whole segment doing headlines, but I do want to mention a couple of topics that are making news, and excited for Alabama men's golf. It's milkshake time. Chase, you know what that means?
Tell me what it means.
All right, you're about to find out. If you follow Alabama golf, you know what milkshake time is. If you don't, and you're listening, you're about to find out. It is a Alabama tradition that whenever Alabama wins a golf tournament, or if a former Alabama player wins a professional event or a highly touted amateur event, Jay Sewell, the Alabama men's golf coach, and the team have a milkshake. And so if it's milkshake time, da-da-ding, what does that mean? They won. Alabama, the number 16th ranked Crimson Tide, opened the 2024 fall season in style, winning the prestigious Folds of Honor Collegiate at the Jack Nicklaus designed American Dunes Golf Club along the shores of beautiful Lake Michigan. Alabama bested the 15-team field with a score of 12 under par, outdistancing second place Illinois by 7 shots. Additionally, Dominic Clemens played in his first tournament with the Crimson Tide, won medalist honors with a marvelous score of 9 under par. The Folds of Honor Collegiate was created to benefit the nonprofit organization Folds of Honor that provides educational scholarships to the spouses and children of military members who have fallen or been disabled while serving in the United States Armed Forces. So not only is it a great golf tournament, it's for a great cause, and it was a great win for Alabama. And as I said, the Alabama men's golf team has a tradition of drinking milkshakes whenever they win a tournament. So it was milkshake time on Wednesday evening. Alabama football continues to prepare for the upcoming road game against Wisconsin. It'll be 11 a.m. Central Time on Saturday morning. It's the Fox Big Noon kickoff game. And Alabama's more than a two-touchdown favorite over the Wisconsin Badgers. Of course, we'll have our SEC point spread predictions coming up tomorrow morning live from Innisfree Irish Pub. You heard a little bit of the Kalen DeBoer show on Wimp and Berry earlier this morning. The Hey Coach and Kalen DeBoer show Wednesday nights now at Baumhauer's Grill, Victory Grill. I continue to mention that simply because a lot of people are still trying to figure it out. I get a lot of texts during the week. The Hey Coach portion of the show is from 6:30 to 7. That is when they interview a coach or two coaches from another sport. Chris Stewart does. And then from 7 until 8, it's the Kalen DeBoer show with taking phone calls. And also Coach DeBoer brings a player. Yes, have the minimum of 8 for a power conference possibility. But that's a good start. These are good schools. Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, California State University, Fresno is the official name, and San Diego State. They bring a lot of tradition, a lot of athletic excellence, and so I hope they can add a couple more schools. And, it's good to see that the Pac-12 is trying to make a comeback. Teresa Gould is now their commissioner. You probably didn't know that, but good for them. So that's some news. Of course, I'm not going to get into this the way some shows are, but social media is a big part of everything in the world now, and we try to keep our show for the most part on the up and up. You know that, Chase. I don't like to get down in the gutter, but the Shannon Sharpe story has to be mentioned. ESPN analyst, of course, former NFL All-Pro tight end with the Broncos and the Ravens. There was about a minute and a half. Was it Instagram that was? You probably know more about this than I do.
Yeah. So
his Instagram was turned on somehow, and he didn't realize it. Yeah. And even though there was no video, the audio was clearly of him and a lady having relations, right?
Yeah. So he had spoke about it yesterday on his show with Ocho Cinco. He said he was meaning to FaceTime somebody, and nothing but his producer had said, "Hey, you're on Instagram Live," and he thought he was joking. And then he looked and saw the live and the red button, and that's why you see the phone move. Yeah. Like, oh shoot. So yeah.
Well, here's the deal. Again, people do what they want to do, and people make mistakes. At the same time, I do think that's rather embarrassing, and I don't know that it matters anymore in this world, but I would have to think that ESPN is considering whether or not they want to keep him employed. I mean, I don't think that would be out of the realm of possibility to say, man, you were caught having relations on a live feed. That's not representative of our company, and it's just not using good judgment. I mean, I don't know that he's going to get fired or not, and I'm not saying he should get fired. I'm just saying we're desensitized to the point where this is, we kind of treat this as like normal behavior. And it's probably not, Chase. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens there. But I wanted to mention it because it's making a lot of noise. 12 minutes after the hour, 9 o'clock. Let's go ahead and jump out on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline. And Tom is going to lead us off. Good morning, Tom.
Gary, how are you this morning? Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to talk about the Braves. The freaking Mets. I mean, the guy has a no-hitter going all day long yesterday. And then the Mets come up and win.
Yep, they sure did.
And it drives me up the freaking wall because I didn't think the Mets were going to be a factor this year, and they just hung around, and now they're putting it all together. And but I do believe that the Braves, had they not had the problems that they had throughout the year, that this thing would be over in their division right now. And as far and no worse than a wild card playoff for the Braves.
Well, they're a game back now, as you're alluding to. After they lost last night and the Mets came back and won, the Braves are a game out of the wild card. And right now, to be honest with you, Tom, if I had to pick between the two teams, I'd pick the Mets. I think the Mets are going to win the wild card.
I don't want to hear that.
Well,
I don't want to hear it till it's too late to say anything. But anyway.
I hope I'm wrong, and that could be, but the Mets are, like you said, they're so hot right now, and they're playing.
If the Braves make the playoffs, I say it's going to be monumental of overcoming adversity. I mean, they've had their share. I don't care what you say. You always say, "Well, they're a Major League Baseball team. They should be able to plug somebody in and keep going." Well, it ain't that easy, and. Or I don't think it's that easy.
I don't know that I've said it exactly like that. I've said injuries are part of the game, but clearly they're not the same team that they expected to be. I mean, I know that.
Well, I agree, and now you're coming around, but that's not what you said a month ago. You had them all the way out. They wasn't going to make the playoffs, and now they're closer than what you had projected them a month ago. Now, I know you're not going to admit it, but that's fact.
I think just some revisionist history going on here myself, but that's okay.
It's not revisionist. I beg your pardon, Mr. Harry. I take this right here. I'm calling you out on what you said, and I called you out the day you said it. I said, well, wait a minute. You can't say that at this point. We don't know that. And but you went on and said, oh, they're not going to make the playoffs. Do you know you were down? You know how you go.
I'm still saying they're not going to make the playoffs. I'm still saying I'm still taking the Mets.
That. They're only a game back.
I know.
And who they got this weekend? Have they got the Dodgers, and the Mets got the Phillies?
Well, two good teams. Both are playing two good teams then. So listen, I hope the Braves make the playoffs. Anybody that follows me knows I'm a Braves fan, and I'm pulling for them.
Yeah, but you give up on them too quick.
And okay, well, whatever.
Just like the Falcons, you ready to bury them today?
Yeah, I'm ready to. I was ready to bury the Falcons before they played a game.
Well, you do that every year.
Well, yeah, and I'm usually right.
You do this with the Braves every year.
I don't do it with the Braves every year. You're going to have to stop that Brave slander, pal. You're completely off base for that one. Completely off. But the Falcons, I mean, we know what they're going to do. They're going to be a dynamic disappointment. That's just the history of the entire organization.
Dynamic disappointment. That is so interesting to state it that way.
Yeah. I mean, they should have a pretty good team. On paper, they've got
what? Dynamic disappointment. I rate that right up there with snatching the thrill of victory from the jaws of defeat, or however it is.
Snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Dynamic disappointment. That's the Falcons. Yeah, they don't like to just disappoint. They like to do it in grand fashion.
What do you make of that owner with the Mets? I mean, is the guy a freaking genius or what? Or does he know how to punch buttons?
Well, you know about Steve Cohen. I think if anything, when he first took over the team, he looked like an idiot because he was paying money out the wazoo and guys were not producing. He signed Verlander. He signed who was the other? He signed not Scherzer. He signed all these guys, and they weren't very good. And then when he started dumping contracts, they've gotten better. I mean.
Yeah.
So
with no name players.
Yeah, well, for the most part. Now they have Jose Reyes, who is an unbelievable player, and Francisco Lindor, and they've got some guys that are really really good, but they don't have the the same.
That's what I'm saying. That was the genius of Cohen. He rolled in there and signed these $5 ones and then pawned them off and then rolled it back around and got what he's got now. But still, he pushed the right button. You got to give him credit. I like Steve Cohen. He's a brilliant guy, but baseball-wise, I don't like him.
Yeah, but they're looking good. Of course, I meant Lindor when I said Reyes. Reyes was a shortstop for the Mets, but he's got to be 40-something years old, so I don't think he's playing anymore. But Lindor certainly is, and they're good right now. They're really good.
They are, and I don't like.
You there, Tom?
Yeah, I said
okay.
I don't like it.
I heard a beep. So, all right, my friend, good stuff as always. I got to get to the break. I have to pay some bills.
See you, Gary.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks for taking
9:18 here on the Gary Harris Show. The Coach Ellis Johnson coming up at 9:30. Open up for more phone calls in the next segment. And also, I'm going to go ahead and, my point spread predictions tomorrow, but we will lay out the SEC schedule. We'll go through the games with Coach, but I'll go ahead and someone texted me and said, hey, man, let me know what time the games are on Saturday. So we'll do that next right here on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama sports.
Town Square Media weather update. Western Alabama faces multiple hazards from the leftovers of Francine. Strong winds are a threat late morning into the afternoon here for Western Alabama, with wind gusts up to 40 possible. That could lead to some downed trees and power lines. Tornado risk is highest this afternoon for Western Alabama and may return again tomorrow, as we will see some scattered strong thunderstorms develop as the leftovers of Francine lingers across the region into the weekend. With the Town Square Media weather update, I'm Richard DeWeather.
As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special. Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m., get a meat and 3 vegetables for just $8.49. Or for a lighter appetite, try the Lucky Lunch soup, salad, or sandwich combo. I'll see you at the Free.
Tuscaloosa's Old Colony Golf Course is an 18-hole championship layout designed by 1976 U.S. Open champion Jerry Pate. Director of Golf John Gray and fitting specialist Bob Montgomery are PGA certified. Mike Shivitz is the head professional and director of the Tuscaloosa Junior Golf Program. Call today to secure a tee time at the Tuscaloosa Championship Golf Course. Everyone can play. 205-562-3201. Old Colony is operated by Para.
Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans.
House-made queso, sweet vinaigrette dressing, and spicy Cajun sauce. And check out our breakfast catering menu. Blues Q and Brew is open 7 days a week. We're located at 1825 McFarland Boulevard North in the Northridge Center.
Since 2011, Billy's Sports Grill, located on Main Avenue in historic downtown Northport, has been serving their legendary signature chicken sandwich, award-winning wings, and handcrafted cocktails. Billy's is also the spot to watch all your favorite sporting events with big screen, high-definition televisions, both dining rooms, at the bar, and outside on the beautiful patio. Come by and say hello to Kim and Lisa, the Billy's Management Dream Team. Billy's, good food, good friends, and good time.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly cloudy and windy with rain and thunderstorms today. The chance of a few brief isolated tornadoes, the high 75. Showers diminishing tonight, the low 67. Tomorrow, partly sunny with a few scattered showers and storms around, the high 81. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
You're listening to The Gary Harris Show. For Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 9:22. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. Phone lines are open on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline. Pinnacle Park, luxury townhome community near beautiful Lake Tuscaloosa. They're gorgeous. 4 bedrooms, 4 baths, gated. Security measures in place, beautiful swimming pool, beautiful walking area. You really have to see them to appreciate just how nice they are, and the location is fabulous. Find out more at pinnacleparknr.com. That's pinnacleparknr.com, Pinnacle Park at North River. All right, SEC football schedule, and we'll dive into some of these games with the coach in the next segment. But people want, or several people asked me to run the schedule down, so I will. With the kickoff times being Central, I'll give the Central kickoff times. Alabama, of course, at Wisconsin. That's an 11 a.m. kick on Fox. LSU at South Carolina. That's an 11 a.m. kick on ABC. Missouri hosts Boston College. That's an SEC Network kick at 11:45 a.m. Texas A&M is at Florida. That's an ABC kickoff at 2:30 Central. Oklahoma hosts Tulane. That is a 2:30 Central kickoff on ESPN. That could be a tough game for Oklahoma. Tulane's good. UAB, after suffering an embarrassing loss at ULM travels to Arkansas. That is a 3:15 Central kick on the SEC Network. Ole Miss is at Wake Forest. That's an interesting game. Ole Miss going to Wake Forest. That is on the CW at 5:30 on Saturday evening. Georgia State host Vanderbilt. At least that's the way I read the schedule. I'll double check that. But it has Vanderbilt going to Georgia State for a 6 o'clock kick on Saturday night on ESPN Plus. No TV. Trying to figure out why Vanderbilt would travel to Georgia State. Number 2, Texas hosts University of Texas San Antonio. That's a 6 o'clock kick Saturday night on ESPN. New Mexico is at Auburn. That is a 6:30 kick on ESPN2. Mississippi State hosts Toledo. That's a 6:30 kick on ESPNU. Number 1, Georgia at Kentucky. That's a 6:30 kick on ABC. Number 7, Tennessee hosts Kent State. That's a 6:45 kick on the SEC Network. And that is your SEC schedule. I'm still trying to figure out why Vanderbilt. I mean, it's in Atlanta. Maybe it's for recruiting purposes. But I'm going to double check that because maybe that's a neutral site game or something. Let me just double check it just to be sure why they would be at Georgia State. I mean, nobody I know that from the SEC travels to play Georgia State. But Vanderbilt apparently is doing that. And this is a pretty good Vanderbilt team. At least they look to be. At Georgia State. So I guess it's just the Nashville to Atlanta connection, recruiting purposes. But Vandy's looking good after 2 games. So you would figure they'll win over Georgia State and Atlanta and get to 3-0 when they head to Missouri next week. So but that's your SEC football schedule with the television listings and the kickoff times. So it'll be another great Saturday. A lot more SEC versus SEC games. After last week, we only had South Carolina and Kentucky, and we'll get into that with Coach. I did not really even ask Coach about that game last week, which was on me. But we'll recap it for sure because South Carolina went into Lexington and blew the doors off of the Kentucky Wildcats last week, which I think was surprising to most of us. It certainly was to me because I took Kentucky minus the points and obviously regretted it because it did not work out in my favor, as most of the games didn't last week. But I'll be looking to bounce back tomorrow. Once again, a note that I will be at Innisfree Irish Pub live in the morning at 9 a.m. for my show. Wyatt will be there for T-Town Sports Daily as part of Fridays at the Free at 11. They open at 11, but if you come to the side door and want to come in and say hi, you should be able to get in. Now, they won't be able to serve you anything. I mean, they'll start serving food, like I said, until 11 a.m. when they open with for lunch, but still be fun. And I enjoyed being out there last week. Chase did a good job here holding down the fort. And we'll have our T-Town Alabama football trivia contest presented by T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery tomorrow. Going to give away, I think I'm going to give away a Brody Coral print tomorrow. Big color signed Brody Coral print, the former Alabama quarterback. I've got it in my car. I think it's in the Florida game. I'll have to double check from 2005, but it's a beautiful print. I'll tell you more about it tomorrow. I'll probably put it on social media tonight. All right, it's 9:28 here on the Gary Harris Show. We're going to take a time out, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by Coach Ellis Johnson, SEC football insight from a former defensive coordinator with several teams in the SEC, including Alabama and Auburn. He'll break down the action for you next right here on the Gary Harris Show.
Town Square Media weather update. Western Alabama faces multiple hazards from the leftovers of Francine. Strong winds are a threat late morning into the afternoon here for Western Alabama, with wind gusts up to 40 possible. That could lead to some downed trees and power lines. Tornado risk is highest this afternoon for Western Alabama and may return again tomorrow, as we will see some scattered strong thunderstorms develop as the leftovers of Francine lingers across the region into the weekend. With a Town Square Media weather update, I'm Richard DeWelling.
If you haven't already, you've got to try Tuscaloosa's unique breakfast, brunch, and lunch concept. Brick and Spoon, downtown Tuscaloosa, Timerson Square. It's fresh food with a Cajun flair featuring a full bar with build-your-own Bloody Marys and mimosas. Open daily, 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. Available for after
us at 3537 Skyland Boulevard East or online at bmwoftuscaloosa.com. BMW of Tuscaloosa. Take your dreams for a drive.
Los Tarascos has been serving Mexican favorites like burritos, fajitas, and quesadillas since 1999. Their new location is at 4100 Owen Parkway in Northport. And, of course, you can find Los Tarascos in Tuscaloosa at 110 Skyland Boulevard. The bar areas feature big screen television so you can enjoy your favorite sporting events. Los Tarascos features daily happy hour.
Prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
The best station in the state, breaking down Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
.931, it's time for the coach, Ellis Johnson, here on the Gary Harris Show, one of our most popular segments. Coach breaks down SEC football, and Lord knows we got a lot to get to this morning. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Good morning, Gary. Doing good.
Let's look back a little bit before we look ahead. And last week, for some reason, I was focused on certain games. I didn't really get to South Carolina and Kentucky, which was our only SEC versus SEC matchup. And I think most people like Kentucky. I did, based on what I'd seen in that first week. But, as a coach, that, sometimes week to week doesn't carry over. But did you see this one coming, that Carolina was just going to go into Lexington and just blow the doors off the Wildcats 31-6?
No, it didn't. And I think it was just what you saw. They were so inept the first game against a very mediocre Sunbelt team, and they had so many issues on offense. But, they did play well on defense that game, and they gave up a couple of dumb plays, but they were busts, missed assignments. And it was obvious against Kentucky. If you don't have a mobile quarterback and you can't run the ball effectively, you're going to have a hard time with South Carolina. And not to jump ahead too much, but this matchup against LSU, it could be trouble. They got them at home. LSU is not running the football well and didn't even run it well against Nichols. And their quarterback is not extremely mobile. And this may be a tough matchup for LSU.
Yeah, I think it could be too. I mean, South Carolina got a little confidence now. They're at home. You know better than anybody how tough a place Williams-Brice can be to play. And that's one that, we're going to look forward to, that's for sure. Since you did mention it, what will be the key for LSU to kind of get it on track? Because we know they got talent.
Well, we know they do, but, so far they haven't been able to run the ball effectively. And, we kind of gave them a pass on that first game thinking Notre Dame was, Notre Dame, and we found out they might not be Notre Dame. So I'm not sure about LSU, Gary, and they're going to have to prove it, at some point in time. You got all the recruits and all the signees, but right now the performance on the field is not up to that level. But again, the key, they're going to have to find a way to run the ball effectively because they're not going to be able to put Nussmeier in the pocket 40 times against South Carolina.
Does it help LSU that it's the early 11 a.m. kick, 11 a.m. Central, 12 noon Eastern?
Well, I don't know. Some teams that bothers them, some teams it doesn't. The one thing that also is coming into play, and it could be a factor, is it's supposed to be some rain at Columbia.
Yeah, that's always a factor. What happened to Auburn last week? Not that Cal's not, Cal almost beat him out there last year, probably should have beat him, but still, you're at home. You brought on all this influx of talent on offense, and for the most part, I thought Cal defensively just kept Auburn in check all day. Auburn was fortunate to get back to 21-14. I thought that was an official-aided touchdown drive that Auburn got there late, but the Auburn offense didn't do much against that Cal defense at all.
Yeah, well, you get to the main thing. It's 5 turnovers versus no turnovers, and that everything else is kind of a moot point. But why they're having these turnovers, they're having to throw the football too much too. They do not have an effective running game right now. And I don't know if it's lack of talent or not a commitment to it. One thing that happened to them was field position. It was a classic game by Cal of playing good field position. Coach Stalling used to always say, when we get the football on offense, I want to score, kick it a score, or make the other team go 80 yards to the other end of the field. Meaning at least let's get a punt and don't turn football over.
That's right.
And that's what Cal did. They didn't have any kind of great statistical advantage on Auburn, except you look at those turnovers and they're just glaring.
Well, Auburn should have no problems Saturday with a New Mexico team that looks to be a bad New Mexico team, but they've got to figure out what's going on there with their quarterback situation. Would you expect maybe to see Hank Brown the backup with Peyton Thorne struggles against Cal?
Well, if he struggles again, I would think they would. I don't think there's going to be any change going in. I may be wrong, but they've got issues other than Peyton. I mean, he's not the problem. He didn't play well the other day, but he's having to do something that he's probably not capable of doing because the surrounding cast right now is not making plays. As I said, they can't run the football effectively. And then I don't know about his targets. I mean, protection breaks down. They had some bad field position where they were backed up in the second half. And I think he probably got a little conservative on the play calling. But when you get in that field position, you get concerned in a tight ball game. But he didn't throw two of those interceptions right at the very, very end. So he didn't play well. I'm not trying to excuse it, but I don't think he's there. I don't think he's by any stretch their main problem.
Alabama wound up, the final score looks pretty impressive, 42-16, but we know that was not, a 42-16 game until late, and it was in doubt into the fourth quarter. Comedy errors for Alabama. They turned it over. They had penalties, 120 yards worth of penalties. That's on the stat sheet. One of those penalties brought back a 75-yard touchdown. Another penalty brought back, I think, a 30-something-yard touchdown run. Stuff that they've obviously, need to clean up as they go into Wisconsin on Saturday. Wisconsin doesn't look like they're great, but we know they're going to be well coached under Luke Fickell. They're sound. They're physical. They're big. They're going to try to shorten the game. They're going to have the home field. Could Alabama, if they don't play better, be in some trouble?
I don't think so. I think that they can just clean up some things. And you've already hit the two main deals. It's penalties and turnovers. And the penalties, at first I looked at some of the stats and I said, man, they're not having these explosive plays like they did last year. And that's not really that accurate. But they did have some explosive plays, and they had three of them called back by penalties. And they had some other explosive plays. When Milroe can run and throw and he gets these big explosive passes downfield, it just opens up everything else. And that's when the running game starts becoming an issue and harder to stop with the defense. But his consistency was not good the other day. And then the penalties, as you said, they negated a lot of big-time plays, cut off a lot of drives. They're not, and even they weren't last year when Coach Saban was there. With Jalen, they're not a 5 and 6 and 8 yard play team that moves it down the field. They're going to have these 15 and 30-yard passes and runs if they're going to score points. That's just the style they are. And penalties were killing them the other day, negating some of those plays.
Tennessee, and I'm covering Alabama. I'm not getting to focus on all these games, but I go back and try to watch some clips, and I don't know what to say. I mean, they went into Charlotte and just absolutely ran roughshod over what we thought was a pretty good NC State team, 51-10, and their offense just looks dynamic right now, and their defense was dominant. I mean, I know we will talk about Georgia and we talk about Texas, but is Tennessee in the national championship conversation?
If they play the way they play it right now, they're going to be in the playoffs. There's no question in my mind. And I think the reason is twofold. They didn't last year. When Heupel first came in and got his offense moving, he had a guy who could throw it vertical, and he didn't waste plays, didn't have any inaccurate balls. And this kid, quarterback this year, young kid, that's what he needed. He can throw those verticals, and he's very, very accurate with the football. So for his offense to be good, you got to hit some explosive plays down the field, and you can't have incompletes because it stops the clock, and it takes away that fast-paced momentum. They're dangerous, but the reason I think they got a shot to be in the picture at the end of the year is because their defense now is legit. But I don't think they have the kind of defense Georgia has, and I don't think they've got the overall football team that Texas has. I put those guys ahead of them. But right now, I tend to say that Tennessee may be as good or better than Ole Miss. And those are the four teams, to me, that right now are playing the kind of football you got to play to have a chance to get through the playoffs. Yeah,
when you look at Texas, I think they just kind of reaffirmed what we already know. They're really good. I mean, they went into the big house. And granted, Michigan's been gutted. That team Michigan's got's not similar to the one that went 15-0, but still, you're at Michigan. on that stage, and for Texas to go in there and win impressively like that, I think, kind of backs up what you're saying. Texas is a legit national championship contender.
Yeah, I agree. The football team at Michigan is not the typical Michigan, but that atmosphere is a tough place to play, and they took it over from the get-go. And remember, this is a team that lost its top 2 running backs, and they still got another one that put another one in. And, that's kind of what I said about LSU. We know they've got some, too. They lost their best running back. We know they've recruited well, and they got some there, but they haven't produced yet. Texas, on the other hand, I think they lost their top running back in 2 days or preseason. And, I mean, they haven't missed a beat. These guys have come in. They're getting some great rushing attempts by them, some explosive runs. And they just playing really well right now. If they continue to play really good defense, Quinn Ewers, man, I'm telling you, he makes plays that you just don't see every day. He's got a lot better arm than I thought he did. I thought he was just a smart playmaker. He's a talented kid.
I know as a coach, you hate when media guys criticize coaches, and because it's it's easy to sit here but I got to tell you, Arkansas should have beat Oklahoma State, and I like Mike Gundy a lot. He's a really good coach, and playing there, you knew it wasn't over, but Arkansas was in control of that game, and I just thought Sam Pittman's in-game management just cost him the game, and that's tough because Arkansas, you're trying to kind of get back to where you want to be, and he's trying to keep his job, and you got a chance to pull a big upset on the road, and you just flat out let it slip away, and you wind up losing in overtime, double overtime actually, and other than a good effort, now you got nothing to show for it. What did you think of Arkansas there, and the fact that they let one get away?
Yeah, I mean you play a top 15 team on the road and you lose in double overtime by 1 score. That sounds like you played a pretty good game. You also ran at 648 yards.
Yeah,
but at the same time, there's no question there was some terrible. I think they had a muff punt that just at the wrong time in the game, late in the game, may have iced the game if they could have gotten that football and taken some time off the clock. But it just, the turnovers were costly, and I know the offense put up a lot of yards, but they also turned the ball over 3 times. Well, one of them was in the kicking game. But, it was frustrating because just like you said, this is a game that you could go on the road and beat a top 20 team and really feel like you've got the kids. You can't measure what that does for a football team. Instead, they're scratching their head trying to figure out how we screwed this up. And there were a couple of decisions, even in overtime, just on some things, you just kind of like they're killing themselves, shooting themselves in the foot.
I just thought it was a poorly managed game. They get UAB, so they'll win this weekend. UAB looks like they're terrible. Oklahoma, I just kind of casually dismissed Houston last week, and they almost went in there and won, and now Oklahoma's got Tulane. So they better be ready, man. I mean, you talk about an Oklahoma that, their offense was just not good against Houston, and Tulane is a team that can they come in there to Norman and win tomorrow on Saturday afternoon?
Well, I think the biggest factor in this game wasn't Willie Fritz at Tulane and now he's at Houston.
That's right. Yeah.
And, now I forgot about that. When I saw the score, I was surprised until I remembered Willie Fritz and moved up there.
Yeah, he's a good coach.
He can coach.
Yeah.
The guy's a good coach. But, they may be lacking a little bit on offense. It's hard to say with just one football game. But the good thing is, they got out rushed, they got out total yardage, they got out everything on the stat sheets. But they got scores and they won the ball game. So, again, turnovers were a little bit in favor of the winner. And sometimes they're that big a factor when it's a close game. I'm not sure if Oklahoma's in the top half of the league or not. I think they are. But they really didn't perform the other day the way you would think, a top half team would.
All right, some big games. Florida, do they have 2 quarterbacks now? I mean, what's their situation with Lagway having come in and Mertz is still there. They host Texas A&M. This is one of those games. I mean, not only is it an SEC game, but boy, the loser of this game is going to be, behind the 8 ball early. Down in the swamp, who do you like in this one?
I I don't know. It's a hard one. You hit on a couple of the things, and Billy's got a hard choice. He's got a kid who's kind of been there a long time. Everybody in the locker room respects him. He's a team leader, and he's really earned the starting job. But in the game, it ain't happening. And then he got pulled at the end or got hurt there at the end. And the other kid gave him some things in that last game that they didn't have before. So he's got a tough decision there, and I think he said he's going to play them both. That may let one of them win the job, early in the game and take the hot hand and go. And if he does, they probably got a shot to beat A&M. But if it turns into rotating back and forth and trying to find out who's the answer, I think that's a formula for disaster. But right now, I'd probably take Florida home, but they just got annihilated at home 2 weeks ago. So I don't know. That's a hard one to pick.
Kentucky, as we mentioned, just an absolute embarrassment at home against South Carolina. And now, you get top-ranked Georgia coming in. Vandagriff at quarterback was a wreck. Former Georgia Bulldog. We see maybe now why he wouldn't play at Georgia. We saw South Carolina be so, dismal against Old Dominion and turn it around. Any chance Kentucky can make this a game?
From what I saw the other day, no. And the thing I'm worried about Vandagriff, he is very immobile, and it played right into Carolina's hands. It was one little stretch where Kentucky started running the football inside, and they moved it, I think, in the second quarter. But the game got to the point where it looked like they weren't going to be able to win taking that approach. But, I don't know. Right now, they're kind of searching for answers, and I don't know if I would say they've got a chance, but I think they've got a lot of things they got to clean up before they can, talk about even getting close to Georgia.
An interesting game to me. It's not an SEC matchup, but Missouri at home against the Fighting Bill O'Briens. Boston College is, off to the fast start, beating Florida State, and of course, no contest against Duquesne. But this is one of those games that, when you're Missouri, you just always have a tendency, it seems like, to slip up somewhere. Is Missouri on upset watch here, or are they just good enough to just to get through regardless of, whether Boston College comes in with a good plan? Because I think they will have a good plan.
They're good enough, but they better play well, because I do think Boston College is legitimate. That win at Florida State, I know Florida State is their second loss, and they're struggling right now, and we think they're not quite as good as they were, but they've got some talent down there, and Boston College controlled the line of scrimmage on them very well and very consistently. And they're capable. Now, I do think Missouri's a little bit better up front on defense than what Boston College has faced. But they've already played a really good, talented team on the road and clearly beat them. And I think this is one, kind of an upset alert. And it's one of the three games I think is interesting. You already hit two of them, LSU, South Carolina, Texas A&M, Florida. I think this is the third game of the weekend that really had a chance to be an upset or a really good football game.
Couple more I want to ask you about. Again, we just can't go through literally every game. There's no need to talk about some of these, but I don't know. Vanderbilt's off to, they've got their fans fired up, but why in the world are you going to Atlanta to play Georgia State and you're in the SEC? Could it be because Nashville, Atlanta, tie in there, recruiting, whatever? I think Vanderbilt's going to win the game, but I find it interesting that they're going to Atlanta to play Georgia State. What do you make of that?
Yes, I had a big question mark by that game on my sheet, and it was purely that. I'm thinking, why are they going to Georgia State? But Georgia State's not playing real well this year. And, they did have a coaching change. Got a first-year coach in there. And I think that Andy would probably go down and take care of business. They're not the kind of team. They're not flashy. They don't have to take a lot of chances and have explosive plays to play well. I think they go down there and just kind of control the football game and come out either one or two touchdowns up. But I don't understand why you go to your SEC team. You don't go on the road and play group of four.
And Ole Miss has looked every bit the part of a college football playoff contender. They go to Wake Forest, another one of these just kind of ACC, SEC, but just kind of, interesting games. In years past, you look at this and you would say, my gosh, this is going to be a tough football game. But right now, I think Ole Miss will roll in this one. But they are on the road, and at night. So what do you see in this game?
Yeah, I think Wake Forest is one of the best coached football teams in the NCAA. They have slipped a little bit on their talent level. I don't think they're benefiting from the portal. They may have even lost a couple of guys in the portal over a couple of years. But they're not a real good football team right now. But they have been in the past. I've had some teams that you better be careful going there and not play well. But Ole Miss is way too explosive. I don't think they'll have a problem against Wake Forest.
All right, Coach, before I turn you loose, I want to get back to Alabama because that's the team here, obviously. And I know you can't watch every one of these games, but if I explain it to you, you'll probably have some coaching insight. A lot of talk about the system that Kalen DeBoer ran at Washington with Michael Penix, who first-round draft pick of the Falcons, may wind up being the quarterback this year the way it started out for Atlanta. But, they had a really quick passing game. I could throw it down the field too, but, quick reads, get it out of his hand. A lot of guys. We haven't seen that in the first two games from Alabama. We've seen down the field throws from Milroe. They got playmakers, but a lot of fans are asking, I think some fans were miffed, and then they couldn't run the ball early, which impacted their game plan. But we didn't see, we're not seeing the quick throws. We're not seeing the quick reads. We're not seeing the playmakers get involved with jet sweeps and with wide receiver screens and things like that. And it's basically been the run game, pretty simple run game, and then trying to throw the ball downfield. Is that something they're limited at because maybe that's not Jalen Milroe's strength? Or, a lot of people are saying, I don't know, as a coach, I never understood this, we're holding stuff back. What? You got good plays, you run them. But there's a lot of questions about what Alabama's looked like offensively the first 2 weeks.
And I really can't speak to that in detail because I didn't really track it that closely when he came in and what his philosophy was and the scheme and all that good stuff. They are a little bit inconsistent, and I don't know if it's because they're not running the plays that fit or if they trying to run the plays that fit their personnel. I think Jalen Milroe is a throw it down the field guy.
Right.
And I think when you hit the downfield throws, you don't have to have 8 different runs. You can open the box by getting some numbers out of there.
Yeah.
And then you can run it after you open it up a little bit. The problem has been inconsistencies that we talked about a little while ago. Penalties are creating problems for them. They get them in field positions where you can't benefit from dinking and donking the ball. And then they had the turnovers. And all of them may be feeding off each other. I don't know. But it was a very sloppy 42 points, but it was 42 points. And so I don't think there's any problems there other than they just got to get some things cleaned up.
Real quickly, injuries on the offensive line, and they have not been able to kind of, it's only 2 games, but Proctor hasn't played at left tackle. You had to move Booker out to tackle. Formby struggled at right tackle. How important in getting rhythm in the offense is offensive line play?
A lot of the penalties could be, coming off of that, just because guys weren't comfortable in the positions they're playing. But if you're good enough to play at Alabama, you can play a different position and do at least a good job. It's not an outstanding job. So I don't know how much that's hurting them, but there's a reason, they had to move guys around, and that's to get the best 5. Mm-hmm. Injuries don't help anytime. So I think it could very easily be some of the issues when protection's breaking down, and I think it could definitely be a problem with some of the penalties.
Well, we know this. They go to Wisconsin on Saturday, then Georgia will roll in to Tuscaloosa 2 weeks from Saturday. So they better be ready to go then. Thank you, Coach.
Enjoyed it, Gary.
I enjoyed it as well. 9:54, we'll take a timeout, come back and wrap up this first hour quickly right after this.
Locker Room with Coach Wimp Sanderson and Barry Sanderson.
Tune in Friday, brought to you by Yellowwood. We'll talk with Coach Jack Crow at 7:30. Coach Crow will go over the Alabama Crimson Tide and look around the SEC with Coach Crow. In the second hour, we'll be joined by Coach Sonny Smith.
Come discover better living at First and Main. Visit firstandmaincondos.com or call 205-657-7465. Mention you heard about us on the radio and receive 1 month free rent.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly cloudy and windy with rain and thunderstorms today. The chance of a few brief isolated tornadoes, the high 75. Showers diminishing tonight, the low 67. Tomorrow, partly sunny with a few scattered showers and storms around, the high 81. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
covering University of Alabama sports, as well as the national and local scene as well. The Gary Harris Show, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, time flies when you're having fun. That's the first hour of the Gary Harris Show. It is in the books. It's been brought to you by Alabama Credit Union, member-owned and not-for-profit. It's just a better way of banking. Your trusted partner for financial success. Embrace financial well-being with Alabama Credit Union. Hour number 2 is coming up. We're going to get it started with the Falcons report with D. Orlando Ledbetter, plus Jeff Spiegel. More of your phone calls. And
also offer custom screen printing. Let Eyecatchers print shirts for your next event. 345-7762. Eyecatcher Screen Printing and Gifts, where getting seen becomes an art.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Nick Cope.
College football realignment is kicking into gear once again. The Pac-12 has officially announced the additions of San Diego State, Boise State, Fresno State, and Colorado State for the 2026 season. With them joining Oregon State and Washington State, that brings the conference to 6 members, still too shy of the 8-team benchmark needed to be considered an FBS conference. NFL media reports the Dolphins are optimistic running back Devon Achane will be able to play through an ankle injury tonight against the Bills. He is currently considered a game-time decision and will go through warm-ups before they make a call. Miami has already ruled out running back Raheem Mostert. Wednesday in baseball, Dodgers hit 4 homers in the first inning, including number 47 for Shohei Ohtani as they beat the Cubs 10-8. Ohtani also stole his 48th bag of the year.
Now, this hour's West Alabama real-time news update from the Tuscaloosa Thread Newsroom.
West Alabama will spend most of the day feeling the effects of the eastern bands of Francine as the tropical system passes by to our west. A flood watch and a wind advisory are in effect for all of West Alabama through tomorrow morning. Winds could gust to 45 miles per hour with rainfall 2 to 4 inches and locally heavier amounts. High winds will bring down trees and power lines today, causing power outages that are already beginning to mount across the state. Every county in West Alabama is reporting an outage at this hour.
Get 24/7 local news coverage and sports updates when you download the free Tuscaloosa Thread app and sign up for twice daily email newsletters. The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV, Crimson Tide Kickoff, play-by-play for Alabama sports, and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, here we go. Hour number 2 of the Gary Harris Show. Gary Harris, Chase Brumfeld, and we're going to jump immediately out on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline and welcome in my friend D. Orlando Ledbetter, the AJC's Falcons beat writer, and joins us every week for the Falcons Report. Good morning, Orlando. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, Gary. Thanks for having me on the show.
Always a pleasure. And let's look back at the Steelers game. Longtime Falcons fans, or people that follow the Falcons, are not surprised, but I think still disappointed. 18-10 loss. The offense, you got a $100 million plus quarterback who looked, I hate to say it, but he didn't look a lot different than the other Falcons quarterbacks we've seen lately. Kirk Cousins was not dynamic, did not make a lot of plays. Falcons defense, I thought, played pretty well, held Steelers to field goals, but in the end, offensively, they just didn't do what we were hoping to see this Falcons offense do. Big disappointment. What was your take?
Yeah, no doubt about it. It was sloppy and, choppy game there. They did do some good things, but when you don't play an exhibition season, I don't know how you get ready for the season. So, they drove it down.
I don't either.
Yeah, so when they had a chance to take the lead there, they on the 32, and then they hiked the ball into the tight end's knee. When, that's the timing. The timing thing you could have been working on. So, yeah, just some bad interceptions, sloppy ball handling. Bijan ran the wrong way on a swing route. Yeah, just stuff that I don't understand, why they don't play an exhibition season.
I don't either, and I never will. We talked about this last week. You're at home against a decent Steelers team, but they wound up having to start Justin Fields at quarterback with Russell Wilson out. That's a game you felt like you needed to get because, let's just be honest, Monday night you're at Philadelphia, then you come home against the Chiefs before you open up division play against the Saints. I mean, there's a good chance the Falcons are looking at 0-3.
And then there's a short week there where you got Tampa. So, I mean, you're really looking at 0-5. You're not going to be favored in any of those games based on the performance from week 1. So Coach Morris has got a lot of coaching to do here in the next few days. Before they go to Philly, he's got to figure out how to win that one. And if not, he's got a lot more coaching to do after that because he's got the world champs coming in here. He's getting ready to, earn his keep here as the head ball coach of the Falcons.
You know how this works. You've been at this drill a long time. You signed Kirk Cousins, a 36-year-old quarterback, to a multi-$100 million-plus deal, and then you draft Michael Penix as your first-round draft pick, a quarterback out of Washington. Cousins struggles. The backdrop already, I'm sure, with fans is, when are we going to see Penix? I'm not saying that. I just know what's being said. And is Kirk Cousins aware of that? Does he feel that, or has he, been around long enough not to let it bother him? But what's the dynamic with the quarterbacks already?
It's the same. They're supporting each other. But if they move on here, and it's clear that Kirk can't perform better than what he showed last week, then, those rumblings will get a little louder. So as of right now, nobody's ready to move in that direction.
I guess the good news is the defense bent but did not break. They held the Steelers to field goals. And, of course, it was, that was kind of an odd dynamic, too, and that I had told you I was kind of hoping the Falcons might go after Justin Fields, an Atlanta kid, over a guy that's as old as Cousins. But, Fields came in there, and he wasn't great, but his team won and the Falcons didn't. So that was an interesting part of that game, too.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Gary. That was definitely interesting. And, they just got to go back to the drawing board here. It was just, a lot. The defense, did a good job for the most part. Jesse Bates and Justin Simmons playing together.
Okay, there's no parking right there.
All right, I'm sorry, Gary. I'm trying to get in the gate here at Flowery Branch.
Oh, that's okay. No, you do what you need to do. Yes, sir.
For confirmation to park over here.
Okay. Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry.
Got to let Orlando park, folks. Well, that's D. Orlando Ledbetter. Give him a parking space.
Yeah, that was just a bad timing today. Usually my girl Denise just waves me through.
That's okay.
But I've only been covering them 20 years. But hey, but anyway, so yeah, we're struggling in the media here. They can't really take care of the media. Can't really throw the ball. It's they got a lot of work here to do up in Flowery Branch.
Obviously, the offensive line's got a lot to work to do, and I understand. T.J. Watt's hard to block for every team. But the Steelers up front, that offensive line was miserable.
Yeah, Caleb McGarry struggled against speed, which we've said that over the years. They didn't give him any help. They brought Charlie Warner. They signed him for to be a help at the tight end position and so forth. So that was interesting that they didn't do that. They came out running pretty good behind Jake Matthews and Matt Bergeron, but they weren't able to sustain that over the game.
All right, you do go to Philadelphia, and, we know the Falcons got a lot of weapons or appear to have a lot of weapons on offense, but so do the Eagles. And they added Saquon Barkley. They already had a lot of guys, and now you add arguably a guy who's in the conversation for best running back in the NFL. What about this Eagles team? What do you see from them, and is this a game on the road on Monday night? Did the Falcons have any shot here?
Yeah, they do. They do have some weapons in Philly. They did beat the Packers 34-29, but the Packers put up 441.
Sure.
They thrown into the end zone. Josh Jacobs got rolling late, and the Wilson kid out of Fort Valley Fort Valley State down here in Georgia. He ran the ball pretty hard, so the Falcons have to be encouraged that, hey, maybe we could run the ball and keep some of these weapons off the field. So. we, that's going to be one of the issues going into this game on Monday night. Also, the Eagles defense is full of the UGA guys.
Yes, they are. There's a
5 of them over there.
Yeah, bunch of Georgia Bulldogs on that defense. You already alluded to it a little bit, and obviously the Falcons, it's just 1 week, and you win a game, and all of a sudden everything feels much different. But this is a tough schedule, and God forbid they start 0-5. If that worst case scenario happens and you're basically out of it before the season gets going, I assume then if that were to happen, and we don't know that it will, you hope that it doesn't, obviously, but if the Falcons got off to the worst case scenario, then I'm assuming probably you would go to Penix and already start kind of turning the page from Kirk Cousins.
No, I don't think so, Gary. I was talking to Rich Sherman yesterday, and they're in a tough spot, no question about it. But he was like, hey, going to be pretty hard to sit $50 million on the bench.
That's true, too. Yeah.
So Terry's going to be in a hard spot. He's going to have to explain to Mr. Blank that, hey, my quarterback isn't, what we thought. And, good thing we drafted the rookie. But the rookie's allegedly not ready to go right now, according to my people that watch practice. Because we don't get to watch the real practice. But he's halfway there, I heard, 50-50. So he can get you through a game. But as far as taking over, I don't think he, they could turn to him, but I don't think the 0-5 start would be the time. But we'll stay posted. We'll certainly hear about it because we had fans here that wanted to see Matt Shaw before when Michael Vick was first starting out.
Yeah, you're right. Well, maybe they'll win a game. Maybe they'll win a game and kind of get, that'll right the ship. And it'll be tough Monday night in Philly. But you know what? That's the National Football League. Anybody can beat anybody. Hey, I know you got to get to work, Orlando. We appreciate your time. Everybody that's listening out there, fill them in on where they can find you.
Sure, at Orlando AJC, and then our website is ajc.com. They can find all of our stuff there. Thanks for having me, and have a great day.
Thank you, Orlando. It's 10:12 here on the Gary Harris Show, and we're going to get to a break here in just a moment, and we're wide open for phone calls in the next segment. Jeff Spiegel coming up at 10:30. Hey, I do want to mention to you that, obviously today, we're going to have wind and rain. It's not an ideal golf day, but this will pass, and fall golf is the best golf, in my opinion, and Tall Pines Golf Course is ready for you. A hidden gem in Tuscaloosa. Tall Pines accepts public play. Give them a call to make a tee time at 205-556-1232. That's 205-556-1232. A beautiful golf course. Those greens have come in nicely, and just pretty golf course. Great neighborhood there at Woodland Forest, East Tuscaloosa. So if you have not played around at Tall Pines in a while, or if you've never played around at Tall Pines, give them a try. Reasonably priced. Tall Pines Golf Course in East Tuscaloosa. We'll be back with more of the Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama sports.
Town Square Media weather update. Western Alabama faces multiple hazards from the leftovers of Francine. Strong winds are a threat late morning into the afternoon here for Western Alabama, with wind gusts up to 40 possible. That could lead to some downed trees and power lines. Tornado risk is highest this afternoon for Western Alabama and may return again tomorrow, as we will see.
Honey pepper pimento chicken sandwich. It's that extra off. I go back and forth from the spicy filet to the original filet. I get into the sweetness of the honey, then you have the extra kick from the spicy filet. The combination alone takes it over the top. It's award-winning.
The Chick-fil-A Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich is back with a bite. Try it with the original or spicy filet, now for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonial.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly cloudy and windy with rain and thunderstorms today. The chance of a few brief isolated tornadoes, the high 75. Showers diminishing tonight, the low 67. Tomorrow, partly sunny with a few scattered showers and storms around, the high 81. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Follow the Crimson Tide on their journey to another national championship. Touchdown, Alabama! On your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 10:16. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show here on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC. Gary Harris, Chase Brumfeld. And phone lines are open on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline, 205-342-9904. A little slow this morning. We'd love to hear from you. Chase, let me bring you in here for your insight. Well, I think we all were a little surprised that for the second year in a row, Alabama had to go into the fourth quarter before pulling it out against South Florida. Now, they did, in the fourth quarter, take care of business, man. I mean, they turned it on. But still, a lot of questions about this team going forward. Do you think those questions get answered on Saturday at Wisconsin? Or, in your opinion, will it be a struggle bus again? What's Chase Brumfeld's gut telling him about Alabama versus Wisconsin?
I think it's going to be some improvement. I don't know. I just have this eerie feeling that this is going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be like it's not going to be I know Philip has said it's going to be 15-14. And I was like, I don't know if it's going to be that, but I think it's going to be maybe 31-13. I don't think with the offensive line being the looming question, I don't think it's – I'm very questionable about that. I think maybe by Georgia we'll see more improvement, but – if we can just get through Wisconsin, I think people can start to smile again. But I can see why fans would be a little eerie as to why the struggles have been happening, especially with contending with USF the way we did. That's scary. I don't know. I do believe though that the offense is going to flourish, especially with Hollywood, with Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard. I think they're definitely going to attack much of the defense of Wisconsin. I think Jalen's going to do a great job of just commanding the offense and just getting everything as sound as possible. I don't think people should be worried about the Wisconsin game, but I don't think it's going to be an easy peasy game.
It won't be easy. They're too good a team, too good a program, too well coached. But I do think Alabama will wind up winning it by a comfortable margin. And if they don't, if it is, like Philip says, 15-14 or something like that, or it's a low-scoring game into the fourth quarter, even if you win the game, there's going to be a lot of doubt going into the bye week with Georgia coming in 2 weeks. So, listen, what's going to happen against Georgia is going to be decided on the field, but I do think it would be good for this football team. I know it'd be good for this fan base to feel like Alabama was coming off a really dominant performance before facing Georgia, because I know Alabama's history against Georgia over the last 15 years has been one of much success. Kirby's only beaten Alabama one time as a head coach. That wasn't a national championship game. But outside of that, he didn't, he lost them all. And then Mark Richt, who was a good coach, I think really ultimately lost his job because he could not get over the hump against Alabama in the SEC championship game and could not get Georgia to, a BCS national championship game or, a college football playoff. So I think that's why he was let go and Kirby was brought in. But still, having said that, this is this year. And we'll see what Georgia does at Kentucky. My instinct is that they're going to roll. And so you would like to go into the bye week before Georgia feeling like your team was playing well and ready for Georgia. You'd hate to, I just think, it's going to be a lot of negative energy if this is a struggle bus game or, we don't even want to think about losing the game, but it matters. By the way, be weather aware. It's getting windy outside, Chase. If you that wind out there is starting to whip. All right, tell you what, since we don't have any phone calls, we got an opportunity here to hear from Maurice Linguist, Alabama's co-defensive coordinator, one of the secondary coaches, and a bright young coach. Came over from Buffalo, where he was the head coach, to be an assistant at Alabama. He met with the media yesterday, and we've got some of his media session from Wednesday morning.
Yeah, obviously a lot of new faces in there, a lot of guys getting first-time experience with us. Obviously, we got some transfers in there with Keon and Damani. Then you got some younger guys like Red Morgan and Xavier Brown and Bakwe and Mincy. So you're seeing all these young guys, and it's really trying to continue to build off the good moments that we're having and then just learn from the teachable moments and try to find ways to continue to get better.
What have you seen from Deshaun Jones? Got a little bit of a heavier workload in week 2 versus week 1.
Yeah, he's a guy that's going in and showing that he can do his job and do it consistently and execute the defense in the nature that we need him to. And if you can take small jobs and handle your business the right way, small jobs can turn into big jobs. So we're going to continue to work guys in, continue to develop our depth and build guys up throughout the week and get a lot of bodies in there and let guys earn their reps through practice and earn their playing time through what they do in the game. But Jones, Deshaun has actually been a guy that's gone in there and done a good job for us.
Coach, a hard-fought win last weekend, especially in those last 6 minutes. Just walk me through the differences between that game at the beginning into the last 6 minutes of that win.
Well, I think you're seeing all over college football right now some of these, I guess you want to call them upsets or maybe surprising wins from teams all over the nation. I think football will teach you anything. If it's taught me anything over the last 18 years is anybody can beat anybody, you better get yourself ready to go. And probably the number one thing that you always remind yourself of is that winning is and always will be hard. So because winning is hard, you got to continue to respect the process and everything that goes into winning. And then when the football hits the ball, it's about performance in the moment. It's about executing the call. It's about doing your job. It's about making plays and stacking one play on top of another play. So winning's difficult. Winning's hard, and we don't take any of those wins for granted. We're definitely fortunate and glad that we were able to pull the game out. And then you can learn things through the process of what happened throughout the game. There's stats, and then there's the actual story of what actually happened throughout the game. What can we learn from this game that we can use moving forward to help us wiser, help us be better moving forward? Obviously, now we got a road game coming up and all the challenges of us going on the road.
And talking about the road game, Wisconsin, it's a hard place to play, but what are you excited about just to see from the defense and traveling over there?
To continue to take steps and to continue to form into that identity of who we believe we can ultimately be. We're trying to close that gap between where we are and where we actually want to go. Nothing happens all of a sudden. It's through work over time, through staying committed through the process, by taking the right necessary steps, by looking at the truth and good and bad or indifferent, and recognizing what those things are so we can build on the good and learn from the mistakes. And we're looking forward to all the things that come out of traveling and the mental focus that you have, the discipline to do your job, the toughness you have to show to go on the road, to execute, that back against the wall mentality when it's just you and your fans against a big opponent on the road and all those things that come along with that. So we know it's certainly going to be a challenge in all aspects of the game. Everyone's got to, get our mind focused and travel well and get ready to go play a hard-fought game on the road.
And preparing for that hard-fought game, how's practice look like this week in preparation?
Yeah, I think the guys are energized. The energy in our team is really good. I think, you look at the guys in the secondary, you have experienced guys. Damani's an older guy. Malachi Moore, Keon Sabb, those are older guys. Maybe they've played at other places, but they still have experience of what it takes to go on the road, what it takes to prepare through the week, the consistency that it demands to really be a good football player. And it's hard to be good. It's hard to be great, So what do I have to do on a week in and week out basis? Can I just commit myself to doing things a certain way, the same way over long periods of time, regardless, and detached from an actual result? So we have great leadership with the older guys that we have. The young guys are learning, but you're seeing an energized team. I feel like the energy's been good and guys have been doing a really good job.
A fun thing about traveling is being able to have that team bonding time. How are you excited about that, being able to be with the guys in a different state, just the team building side?
Yeah, I think anytime you pack up the bags and you go on the road and you look at it, you look to your left and look to your right, and it's all you, it's your guys, and it's just you. There's no one else. We're not going to have all our fans here back home here in Tuscaloosa. They're going to be cheering for us. We'll be able to bring a group, but we know the mentality that you have to have when you travel. This is big time football. This is a high level college football, and we know that you have to have a certain demeanor and a certain way that you got to approach these games. So nobody's going to give us anything. No one owes us anything. We know we got to continue to grind our way to the top, and we're looking forward to all the things that come in terms of having to travel, go on the road, and what it's going to take to go battle on the road.
All right, good stuff there from Maurice Linguist, and you see why he is a coach that's already been a head coach at the Division I level. He is bright, and he's a guy that he gets it, and that defense is well coached. We'll see how they play on Saturday. But so far, even though they had some struggles against South Florida, 2 games, 16 total points, 8 points a game, you'll take that for sure. All right, we got Jeff Spiegel coming up in the next segment. I want to mention to you while I got a moment here, my good friend Jackie Houston Hyder Steam Carpet and Upholstery Cleaning. Is your carpet clean enough to sleep on? If it isn't, you need to call Houston Hyder Steam, but not just for carpet cleaning. They can do any kind of floors that you have, wood floors, hardwood floors, tile, whatever the surface is. They've been in business for nearly 40 years. And as a local company, what does that tell you? Well, it tells you they do it right, because you don't make it for 40 years as a local company unless you are good at what you do. And Houston Hyder Steam Carpet and Upholstery Cleaning is the best. Absolute the best. They offer all kinds of services: carpet and upholstery cleaning, oriental rug cleaning, residential, commercial, water damage deodorizing, fabric protection, tile and grout cleaning, emergency service available. They'll give you a free estimate. You'll be contacted shortly after the request is received. Professionally trained technicians offering you 100% satisfaction. Appointments set around your schedule. No hidden charges or fees, and extra care and attention given to trouble areas. And if you got that grout in your shower, they can get it for you. Contact them by giving them a phone call at 205-553-9460. That's 553-9460. Or go to HoustonHyderSteam.com to find out more. Jackie Houston and Houston Hyder Steam. You want to be having those
Lady in Birmingham. Plus, don't miss our grand opening celebration Friday, October the 11th through Sunday, October 13th. And check us out at academy.com with free shipping on purchases over $25.
You see him on WVUA 23 covering sports and on Tider Insider TV on Tuesday nights. Don't miss a minute of the Gary Harris Show. Weekdays from 9 to 11 on Tide 100.9.
10:30. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. It's Speaks time. Jeff Spiegel, longtime sports anchor, host of The Zone at ABC 3340. Time for his weekly segment, and should be fun this morning. We got a lot to talk about. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, Gary. How you doing?
Doing well, man. Getting ready for another big weekend of college football. I want to look back at last weekend because UAB lost, Auburn lost, and Alabama won, but didn't decide the issue until the fourth quarter. Let's start with the Crimson Tide. A lot of questions came out of that game. Obviously, the offensive line. Now, we know it was kind of plug and play in that game with Proctor still out and Pritchett dealing with an ankle. But offensively, penalties, mistakes, turnovers. And you look up and, that's a 1-point game. Now, they took care of business in the fourth quarter, but what did you see from Alabama on offense? And is that something that they can get fixed right away, or do you see the issues lingering?
I think that's something that can be fixed right away. And I think it all, comes back, to the offensive line. And they were kind of dealing with a patchwork process in that South Florida game. But, it sounds like Caden Proctor is going to be back. It sounds like Elijah Pritchett is going to be okay. And it's amazing that, once they decided, okay, we're going to put Pritchett back in because this is just not going well. And then once he came into the game, like bang, I mean, they were super productive there in that fourth quarter when they pulled away. So, yeah, I think the offensive line is going to resemble its intended normal self, Saturday in Madison. And so I think Alabama's offense will be, running on point again.
It is on the road. It is the big noon kickoff for Fox, 11 a.m. Central. I wish I could go. I've never been to Camp Randall. I would love to. House of Pain, jump around going into the fourth quarter. Having said all the things that you said about them getting it right, is this a game that going into the fourth quarter is going to still be in jeopardy, in your opinion, or do you think Alabama has enough to kind of go ahead and decide the issue and not have to sweat it out?
Well, I think it could be a tie game. I think, just judging from, the Wisconsin interviews that we've seen, this week, they've been thinking about this game for a long, long time, ever since it got on the schedule. Wohler, the defensive back, yesterday, or in a bite that earlier this week, he said, I found that this game was going to happen when I was in high school. So there's been an excitement level about Alabama coming to their place for a long time. So there'll be a lot of juice in the building. There'll be a lot of the Badgers are going to be fired up. Now, whether the football team could take advantage of that crowd and execute, the way that, they want to remains to be seen. But I see it being, kind of a tight game midway through the third quarter. But, I see talent winning out. When I think about this game, it kind of reminds me of the A&M game a year ago. You go into a hostile environment. There were hostile environments all over the SEC. And Alabama was shaky, for a while, but they stayed the course. They made the plays. Milroe was terrific, down the stretch. And I see a very similar scenario when it comes to this game.
For Kalen DeBoer, we're starting to see him now as the coach at Alabama. He's got 2 games under his belt. It is different than Nick Saban. I mean, Nick Saban, his demeanor is different. Coach DeBoer's easygoing. He's intense, but, you're not going to have the blow-ups at the press conferences. You're not going to have the instant sound bites, stuff going viral. How do you sense Alabama fans are adjusting to this new tenure? Jeff, do you think most of them are still comfortable with it or worried that, they can see now that there's going to be a drop-off? Where's the vibe of the Bama fans, in your opinion?
Well, I think they moved on from Nick. I think they're very comfortable, with Kalen DeBoer and this coaching staff. I think they like him. It is different, and everyone knew it would be different. And you'd be fooling yourself if you didn't think it would be different. But to me, it's a good different. It's a guy who's a quality football coach who's proven over the years that he knows what he's doing. He knows how to organize his staff. He knows how to, execute a game plan and get it done. Now, the issues, that they had against South Florida have nothing to do with Nick Saban not being there. This is just a football team that was, had some offensive line issues, turning the ball over in the second half and trying to find their way, through these mistakes. So now you got a game that you can lock in on. You can lock in on the details, as Malachi Moore said yesterday. You've got this kind of ugly game out of your way, and now you can focus and get up there and take care of business. And sometimes, these road games are easier to play than home games because, you've got an expectation from the fan base that, to perform. Here it's one of those us against the world kind of thing. And sometimes, football teams just rise to the occasion when it comes to that. And oftentimes Alabama does.
Well, Alabama got through USF with a win. Auburn did not get through Cal with a win. Tigers took a loss, a hard loss. I thought that offensively for Auburn, from what I saw, Jeff, they never really got much going in the game. Cal's defense was really good. And then offensively, Cal in the first half, they didn't play as well in the second half, but they were able to control the football and the clock. And, Auburn, fortunately for them, got a late touchdown that I thought was official aided to even have an opportunity in that game. But it was more of the same from what we saw last year. All the talk about all the playmakers and all of this, and Peyton Thorne gets it. And it looked like the Auburn offense from last season in that game, Jeff. Very big disappointment for Auburn football.
Yeah, it was huge. The offensive line didn't protect Thorne like they needed to. Thorne was not sharp. Look, any quarterback under duress, is capable of making mistakes. But Peyton Thorne, when he's under duress, is capable of making, a few more mistakes. So, 4 picks, and it should have been 5. You're right, because that was a ghost pass interference call, there that aided Auburn on that touchdown drive. But, yeah, they got a lot of things to fix. And this week, Hugh Freeze has put out a warning to his quarterback room that, we can't play poorly at that position anymore. And so that said to me that Thorne, if he throws an early pick in this New Mexico game, they may just go to Hank Brown. Look, I thought he should have gone to Hank Brown, in the Cal game. There's nothing wrong with taking your starting quarterback and saying, hey, look, dude, it ain't your day. What happens when Clayton Kershaw has a rough first inning. You don't leave him out there for 8 innings. You know, you go to the bullpen, you pull the guy and say, hey, man, this ain't your day. It may be your day next week when we play New Mexico. It may be your day 2 weeks from now when we play Arkansas. But it ain't your day today.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to try this guy. So to me, he left that thing hanging out there way too long. And I just think it was a poor job of Hugh Freeze in terms of managing the team.
Well, they shouldn't have problems this weekend. New Mexico got lost to Montana State and got 61 hung on them by Arizona. So, the test for Auburn will be getting back into SEC play next week with Arkansas. Let's talk UAB because that was just an embarrassing, pathetic performance. The Blazers go into Monroe, Louisiana and get their doors blown off by their former head coach, Bryant Vincent in ULM. And Bryant Vincent, as we know, shared an office. Basically, the guy that was going to replace him was brought in to replace him and in the office with him. And I know about all the former staffers and all that on the ULM staff, but still, for UAB to go down there and just get clocked. I mean, there's a lot of questions right now from what I don't talk to Blazer fans the way you do, but I know some of them. There are a lot of questions about Trent Dilfer and whether or not he's going to be able to get it done.
Well, it was really rough. I mean, the fact that you couldn't get in the end zone and you couldn't get out of the end zone on one possession, they knocked you back 5 yards and got a safety on you. So it was a dominating performance by a 2-10 team a year ago.
That's right.
Think about that now. They were 2-10, and they were ranked like, I don't know, in the hundreds, coming into this game. And they were a 13-point underdog at home. And then they come out and put a 26-point whooping on UAB like that. And now you're going to Arkansas, and you're facing this Bobby Petrino offense that rolled up like 640 yards, against Oklahoma State.
And shouldn't have lost the game.
No, you're exactly right. So, no, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good for Trent. And that, look, they're not going to get right, Saturday either. Although, last year there was this gloom and doom and everything. Then they went to Georgia and played Georgia tough. So it wouldn't surprise me if they went in there and hung with Arkansas a little while. But, no, there are a lot of questions. You're right. I mean, the performance at Louisiana Monroe, there's no excuses for it. It was awful.
For Dilfer, who, had never coached in college, we know he played in the NFL. We know he won a Super Bowl. We know he was a high school coach. Hired by UAB. We mentioned the awkwardness of the Bryant Vincent situation. What about the AD there, Mark Ingram? What's his situation? I'm getting some vibes that a lot of Blazer fans aren't happy with him.
Well, every AD, at least down here in the South, every AD is judged by the football coach hire he makes. I mean, that's pretty true across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And if you make a bad football hire, that does not bode well for your future as an athletic director. And certainly, if Trent Dilfer is on the hot seat, well, Mark Ingram's on the hot seat too, because this was a out of the box hire. And look, you and I are approximately the same age, and I'm totally cool with out of the box thinking. But you know what? Sometimes there's a reason you make an in-the-box hire.
That's right.
Sometimes there's a reason you go conventional and make the inside-the-box hire. Because if you make an outside-the-box hire and it doesn't work, then guess what? You're outside the box, and you're trying to find a job somewhere else. So that's the situation that Mark Ingram's in.
Let me ask you a tie-in question here. Bill Clark's doing some TV now with Jacksonville State. He appears to be healthy and happy. We know how good a job he did at UAB. How long before he's coaching again, Jeff?
Well, I would think, there have been some feelers put out, by other programs as far as he's concerned. But, I can't understand that. I don't know why he hasn't gotten back into it unless, he just really just didn't want to.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he just likes what he's doing now and doesn't want to get into the recruiting aspect of it and, the wear and tear, physically and mentally, on coaches and all that. But it's kind of a mystery to me why he hasn't been back in before now. But, maybe maybe he likes the TV side of it and likes kind of relaxing and hanging out a little bit without all that pressure. But it's kind of mystifying to me.
High school question for you, or actually a couple. We know Hoover lost to Spain Park. That one stung, but they bounced back and won their region opener at Hillcrest. What's the vibe? Of course, Drew Gilmer never got to game number one. What's the vibe on Chip English there at Hoover? People happy with the job he's doing? Do you think he'll have an opportunity to keep this job past this season? I know it's early, but what's the vibe on Chip English and Hoover?
Barry, I think the confidence level is pretty high with Chip. I think Chip had a rough track record at Grissom and Albertville, but I worked in North Alabama for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I know the Grissom and Albertville programs; those are not easy programs to win at.
Right.
So you look at the head coaching record there, and you can scratch those off. I think the performance they gave at Hillcrest was, first of all, totally shocking to me, and just incredible. The way they went on the road and just put a beat down on Hillcrest like they did. And so, tonight, here's another test. They go to Hewitt-Trussville. Hewitt's off to a great 3-0 start. They had a come-from-behind win at Vestavia last week. And so this is another test for him. And Harley Lamey told me a couple of weeks ago on our Blitz Game Day show, because I asked him about, Chip's the interim, what are the chances, and he said, well, he's got a year to interview for the job. So he's got an advantage over all these other coaches who want the job. Show me what you can do with a year. And I think so far his body of work has been pretty good.
So, Jeff, is everything still good with Hewitt and Hoover for tonight with the weather?
Oh, actually, that game is Friday.
Oh, it's Friday. Okay.
Yeah. It's Friday. And of course, weather may be a little iffy tomorrow.
Well, I thought it was Friday, but then I thought I heard you say tonight. Maybe I'm hearing things, but
No.
Yeah, and if
but I think it's definitely tomorrow, and I think that's one of the two, just great matchups that we're looking at.
Absolutely. All right, my final prep question is about Clay Chalkville. 28-7, 62-7, 45-0 in their 3 games with Stuart Floyd. They don't seem like they've missed a beat without Drew Gilmer in Class 6A.
No, the transition has been pretty smooth. I mean, Stuart was the offensive coordinator there, under Drew. All the players like him. All the players love him. I went to his introductory press conference, and I've never seen so much energy at an introductory news conference, college, pro, high school. I mean, they love this guy, and they're off to a great start, and I don't see them letting off the accelerator anytime soon.
Jeff, great stuff as always, man, and fill the listeners in on where they can find you on social media and also plug the Zone.
Sure, at Speaks 3340, and then the Zone Sunday at 10:30 on ABC 3340. Gary, appreciate you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Jeff Spiegel. And it is time to get to the break. 10:47. We'll be back for one final segment of the Gary Harris Show right after this on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC.
Faces multiple hazards from the leftovers of Francine. Strong winds are a threat late morning into the afternoon here for western Alabama, with wind gusts up to 40 possible. That could lead to some downed trees and power lines. Tornado risk is highest this afternoon for western Alabama and may return again tomorrow as we will.
Prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly cloudy and windy with rain and thunderstorms today. The chance of a few brief isolated tornadoes, the high 75. Showers diminishing tonight, the low 67. Tomorrow, partly sunny with a few scattered showers and storms around, the high 81. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
The best sports talk in the state. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 10:51. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show, final segment, and we're going to jump back out on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline and welcome in Bryce. Good morning, Bryce.
Good morning, Gary. How are you?
Doing great.
Well, man, I was hoping I'd be talking to you at H&H Restaurant, but I'm on my way now, but got some traffic in Atlanta.
Well, the good news is you're going. So I expect to hear a full report tomorrow.
Man, I was hoping I'd be able to talk to you while I was eating, but Didn't work out that way, buddy.
That's all right. Can't wait to hear about it. So you make sure you call back in tomorrow because that's going to be experience. I know Larry is probably listening, and he'll want to hear about it too.
All right, man. I just want to let you know that I was trying to get there. I was wanting to talk to you. In the
How
radio,
close are you?
I'm probably about 50 miles from Macon.
Okay, well, yeah.
Got real bad in Atlanta.
So you'll be able to get there, of course, Eastern time, but you'll be able to get there probably by 1 o'clock and have a 1 o'clock lunch.
Yeah. I went and picked up my gift card from Wes and Steve, on 97 on the drive.
Yeah.
I won a $100 gift card because I was the only one that picked Cal to beat Auburn. I thought y'all was going to come get the straight jacket on me.
You got
to call Phillip out.
So you were the only one?
Yeah.
Well, you definitely picked Cal, so you deserve $100 for that pick.
Yeah, at Baumheimer's, they're there last night in Huntsville.
Yeah.
Have you called Phillip out yet?
I have not called him out, but he listened, so he knows you have. And, he was wrong on that one, at least so far. Now, listen, it's one loss, and I'm not disagreeing with you that Auburn didn't look good. But if they come back and win Saturday, which they should, New Mexico's horrible.
They better.
And then if they beat Arkansas and Oklahoma, they're going to be feeling pretty good about themselves. If they're 4-1 overall and 2-0 in the SEC.
I don't think they can beat neither one of them. Their defense is not that good.
Mm-hmm.
And the quarterback is up and down. He's not consistent.
Okay. All right.
And until somebody proves me wrong, I'm going to stick to that.
Well, you've been right on so far about them, Bryce, so I give you credit for that. But make sure you call. I'll be at Innisfree in the morning, but make sure you call in and give me a H&H restaurant. Are you also going to get by the big house?
I'm going to do my best.
Okay, man. Well, let me know how it goes, okay?
All right, bye.
Hey, hang on, Bryce. I think Larry might, if we still got Bryce on? I missed
I'm on.
Yeah, stay on because this is Larry, and he probably is calling in about the big house. So hold on here. You got him. Larry, you on? Larry.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I kept Bryce on the phone because he's trying to get down there to Macon. All right, so we got all three of us now. Bryce and Bryce is heading on his way to H&H in the big house.
Bryce, be careful. They have certain hours, but I think you'll be okay. Are you going to be in Swainsboro for a while, or are you just going to hit Macon before you?
Either I may be coming back tonight, or I may spend the night. I'm playing at Beer.
Yeah, you can go online and check their hours.
I will.
I think they do a breakfast and a lunch. I'm not sure about dinner.
You talking about H&H?
3 o'clock.
Larry?
Yeah.
They'll open at 1 o'clock for lunch still, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Lunch is a big deal there. I think they just do certain hours for dinner. I'm not sure if they've changed that or not. But, yeah, you'll enjoy it, man. Good show today, Gary. I can't wait to hear what you got to say about it. I hope you get to go to the big house while you're there.
Well, I'm going to do my best. They're open to 3 o'clock, H&H.
There you go.
You got plenty of time for lunch. Well, Bryce, call me back tomorrow with the update, okay?
Thanks for letting me talk, guys.
Absolutely.
Y'all have a good day.
Thank you. All right, Larry, you go.
Gary.
Wrap us up today. Yeah. Larry, you still there? Did I kill Larry when I cut Bryce off? Larry, you with us? See if he's still there. All right. You back with us, Larry?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, yeah, I guess when I cut Bryce off, I killed the audio for a moment. All right, man, what's up?
Our first caller, this is for our first caller yesterday. I think his name was Ground Chuck.
Mm-hmm, it was.
Okay. Our first show that we did, a guy called in about the blues band from Gadsden. They spelled their name Bleus, and then they changed their name. It was Gadsden Blues Band. And he can research them. They're on Hey Baby Dave's website.
Mm-hmm.
They had a very good lead vocalist, and they almost, that old saying, almost made it. They had a real good album and almost got their foot in the door, and something happened in the band. They got disgruntled or war. I don't know. But anyway, they broke up. But they were very good. And he's right. That vocalist had a very distinctive style. But I thought that was interesting because the first show we did, the guy actually called me, and I can't remember his name. And I don't mind, y'all, if anybody ever wants to call me. And he called me, and we talked for an hour.
Oh, wow.
He called me, and we talked for an hour about, remember he talked about bands that should have been in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame from the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And, man, we talked an hour, and that's kind of what really got me excited about doing this, somebody with that much energy. And we just had a real good conversation. And anybody that ever wants to call me, I don't have a problem with that. You can give them my number.
Well, that's awesome. So, well, Larry, I got to
But I hope
wrap it up, man.
Chuck's listening. Okay, brother.
Hey, give me a quick Alabama football prediction for Saturday.
Okay, I'm thinking 38-13.
All right, got you. All right, Big L, we'll talk again soon. All right, that's going to wrap it up for the Gary Harris Show. This has been a good show, fun show. And then, of course, tomorrow morning, as I said, live at Innisfree Irish Pub for Fridays at the Free. And we'll be going beginning at 9 a.m. They open at 11. Last week, there was a line waiting to get in. Of course, Wyatt will be there live for Fridays at the Free as well. So we'll have a big time out there at Innisfree. And also our Bama football trivia giveaway tomorrow from T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery University Mall. I'm going to give away a big color Brody Coral print. I will get a picture of it and get it out on social media for you tonight. All right, T-Town Sports Daily is coming up next. Have a great day, everybody. I'll talk to you again in the morning.